Hello. Well, one of the things I was particularly looking forward to getting on with repairing in my collection of equipment was a Tascam DA-45HR 24-bit DAT recorder, which I bought recently on eBay. And it's apparently non-working. So let's get stuck in and see if we can fix it. So here we have a Tascam DA-45HR, which is a high resolution DAT recorder, but it should play standard DAT tapes as well. And this has come from eBay as not working. So let's see what happens. Power it up. So it says Tascam DA-45HR. It ejected and says Mechacom error. And it's continuously opening and closing. Let's do something strange and stick a tape in anyway. Nope, not having that. Clearly not a happy machine. Power it down. Let's have a look inside. A screw's missing. Oh, that's not a good start, is it? And somebody's been poking about in here. And when I bought it, well, I actually checked with the seller. I said, has somebody had a go at it already? And I was told, no, it's not been fiddled with. Well, it has been. The worry is, of course, that somebody may have tried to repair it and caused a problem. Yep, 2 screws missing, in fact. And then thrown together without even putting the cabinet screws back. Doesn't bode well, does it? Heaps of dust in here. Mountains of dust. This is interesting. It's a add-on bodge board, but it's marked up TIAC, so clearly it's from the original manufacturers. Wires going all over the place from that bodge board. I'm just taking a brief look to see if there's anything obviously badly fiddled with in here. I doubt that this cable was originally slopping about like that. Okay, let's power it up again. You can hear a motor straining away there. Actually, what's happening is the motor here for driving the sled in and out was overrunning. Close it. No, it won't. Do that again. So it was overrunning on the input direction, overrunning on the output direction, overrunning on the input direction, overrunning on the output direction, and then gives up. So it looks like it's not seeing the limit switches. I suspect that's not the only fault it'll have, but it's one fault. So let's find how it detects the in and out position for the carriage. Power it down. Looks like it's on here. Yes. Optosensors, I think. Is it optosensors or mechanical switches? Service manual would be handy. I don't have one at the moment. Okay, I might give you a better view of this. I've got a new camera mount. Let's see if this works. Okay, so that's the front of the machine at the moment. And you can see there's an actuator here and an actuator here for the open and closed positions. It looks like they're switches. And it looks like the actuators are completely missing the switch gear. What's going on there then? Shall I take this screw out and get this out and have a look at it? Might give us both a better view here like this. So this switch has an actuator. And this switch seems to be missing its actuator. Okay, which was which again? So that's the closed actuator there, and that's the open actuator there. Shall I try powering up again, and this time when it gets to the output position, operate that switch and see if it stops. See if the motor stops over here. Can you see the motor? No, you can't. I'll move it across so you can see the motor. Maybe I'll take the magnifier away for a moment. So this, I think, is the closed switch, and this is the open switch. There, a bit hard to get to, and these are the actuators. So a little bit more light. I think I'm going to power it up, and when it gets to the out position I'll hit this and see if that motor stops spinning. If so, then it's reading the switch. Okay. Well, that's the in position, and that should operate this switch. It did stop. Aha. The problem does appear to be these switches. So we have the problem that this is the closed switch, and this appears to be working, although it may not be making contact with that. And this is the open switch, and the actuator arm seems to be missing. Let's have a close look at that. Try and show you that. So this actuator arm here, the one that is intact, I can't really see how it's mounted on the bottom of the micro switch. Is there a proper joint there, or is it just a piece of plastic that's holding on by the skin of its teeth? And the other end, the other switch is completely missing that. Now, if that bit of actuator arm was floating around at the bottom of the deck, I'd say I've got a reasonable chance of fixing this thing, but I bet it's not there. And then we also need to get the deck out and have a look at there's a very small loading belt which drives the arms here, the MRAP arms. So that belt's known to fail on these things. It's also quite expensive, apparently. Right, let's get this deck out, shall we? Not entirely sure how to do that, but how hard can it be? I should point out that this is powered down, and I was running it on a isolated supply. Okay, there's access holes here. One on the other side as well. You can't quite see that. These two holes to release these deck screws. That's nicely thought through. Well done, Tascam. I think if I take this back bracket off, I'll have a little bit more space to work there, so I don't have to release the front to take the mechanism out. I may have to release the front, but that's how it goes. I'm struggling to take it out because I think it's dropped the tape down, or virtual tape, and so it's locked, and so it's not allowing me, until this is raised here, it's not allowing me to operate the sled and open it. It's making it a little bit hard to take the deck out. Yes, I think there might be some screws on the underside of this, which are a bit hard to get to now that it's closed. Yeah, there's this couple of screws under here that I think I need to release in order to take the deck out. It's a bit hard because I can't eject it. I was bound to drop that screw, wasn't I? Okay, so we lost a bit of time chasing around after that screw I dropped, but that's all sorted now. So let's get on with the original fault. I believe there's a drive belt under this board. Very small one. So let's see if I can gain access to that. These screws don't seem as tight as I'd have expected them to be. It's a possibility that this has been off already. Maybe they're not done up tight. Looks like we have to release this one. No, maybe not. Right, there's a belt here, and that is completely turned to goo. I thought, oh well, maybe I can do something like stick it in some boiling water, but no, that is totally gone. That really has had it. There's another belt here. Oh, that's a tooth belt. That looks quite good. You can see that one. It goes to this gear here. So that's the tooth belt. So this loading motor belt is certainly toast. Wow. That's really, really gone. So I'll have to get one of those before I can really do any more, I think. No chance of sticking that in boiling water and hoping it'll recover because it's just too far gone. And I certainly don't have any belts as small as that. Well, let me go and have a look at my collection, but I'm sure I don't. Okay, where we're at today is that the drive belt has arrived from Germany. for the loading motor, and if that solves the problem, then I will go ahead and order a new switch. This is still available from Tascam, but it's very expensive. It's over £50, which is a lot for a couple of switches on a bracket. So I'm not going to risk that, spending that money on that, until we know the rest of the machine is worth fixing. So let's carry on. Now, I'd reassembled it the other day because I didn't want to lose anything. And this is where the drive belt should go. Let's hope it's the right drive belt. Be very careful opening this packet. Cut it in the wrong place and I've messed it up. One ridiculously small drive belt. Okay, let's reassemble the machine. I won't put everything back together just now, just enough for us to be able to test it. And I do have the problem that, of course, this switch assembly is not working. So what I'm going to have to do is close the switch, which tells the unit that the drawer is in. So let's just remind myself which switch it is. I think it's this one, the front. I've refitted this switch assembly, and I've realised that I was struggling with that because Persons Unknown had obviously had this apart at some point and taken one of the screws out and fitted it on the wrong side. So that's the screw for the broken micro switch. Now the actuator is broken off that micro switch, so that's the micro switch for the out position, but the micro switch for the in position is now fitted and working. So hopefully, as long as we don't press eject, the machine will make an attempt to work now. It has a good cassette in there, it has a good drive belt, so here's where we find out if the machine is actually going to work or not. Let's give it power. I don't have headphones with me at the moment, I'll do that in a moment. Let's just see if we can get it to mechanically run. This is, as I've mentioned before, mains isolated power here. Right, switch it on and see what we get. I'll take the light level down a bit so we can see the display. Right, here goes. Oops. Try that again. That looks okay. Press play. That's looking very promising. Did that sound conk out? Maybe there's no more on the tape. Let's try a pair of headphones. Trying it with some headphones. I had sound for a few moments and then it conked out. So it may have issues. Hitting rewind. Let's rewind the tape a bit. That's working well. Press play. It played for a few seconds and then lost it again. Rewind again, stop, play, a few seconds, and then it disappears. That probably means the tape is shifting in the tape path. That's bad news. That's bad news. Maybe a pinch roller problem. Let's just persevere for a minute, see what I can find out. Right, what I've done is I've connected an oscilloscope up to the test points here for the RF envelope. I only have a service manual for the DA-40 and the test points are different, but they're marked up fundamentally the same, which is SWB, which is the head switching signal, and PBRF, which is playback RF. And you should get a nice block, just the same as you would with a video recorder. You get a nice block of RF, but it's not looking good at all. It's a horrible shape, and it's surprising actually. It's playing as well as it is. I was surprised to get any music at all out of it, considering what an awful state the RF signal's in. So it would appear the tape path is out, but that's a little strange. You'd think, well, how's that happened? Has somebody been fiddling? Well, that's one possibility. Also, Sony had a habit, certainly on their 8mm decks, of not locking off the tape guides very well, and they could wind themselves up or down, so that's another possibility. So I'm going to very gingerly see if I can adjust it to get that waveform back on, whilst also listening to music, which is dropping in and out. Look at the waveform, it's a horrible shape. Okay, I have the right screwdriver, or something that I hope will do. Let's try to improve that waveform whilst also listening to the sound. See if it comes in solidly. At the moment there's no sound at all, or little. Very careful. So I'm on the input guide, turning it anti-clockwise. That actually seems to have straightened it out a little bit. Okay. I'm obviously unfamiliar with this DAC because I was expecting the RF waveform to go for the entire distance, but it doesn't, does it, on DAT, because of the way the wrap works. The picture is a little bit misleading in the service manual, I suspect. Right, where's the error readout? Is there a way of getting an error readout? The number must be less than 90 on this display. So it's head A is giving those errors. About 4. Press, should be able to get to B. How do you switch to B? With the menu button. Where's the menu button? Right, B, 0. And it's reading what? 0 or got to 26 there. Oh, that's 228. That's much more than 90. Could be a bad bit of tape. Right, I'm going to fine tweak these now. Going well. So I just need to either repair or replace this switch. So our problem with the switch is that here, the out detecting switch, there's a rocker supposed to be on it. It's a plastic rocker, and it's snapped off. And unless I can find that rolling around in the machine and refit it, it's going to involve replacing the entire assembly, which is about £55. Staggering amount of money. Unless I can find some other micro switch that will fit into that tiny space. So let's investigate. So the last major item we have to fix on this is the matter of these micro switches. So what we have is two micro switches on a bracket. They've got small rockers on them, except one of the rockers is missing. It's a very small micro switch. This whole assembly is available directly from the manufacturer, which is impressive given the age of the machine. What's less good is it's around about £55 in the UK. So let's see if I can fix it. I've taken the screw out here, so we're looking at whether I can fit a micro switch in this position. See, because the arm is missing, that's where the arm should be, on there. There should be one on this side. So I'm going to change this micro switch over with a different one I found on eBay. I'll give it a go. Let's first set you up so you can get a better view of all this. Right, so I've set you up on a different tripod, by the way. This is a new experiment of mine. Well, it's a kind of cantilever arm affair, and I think it gives a better view of what we're doing. You let me know, is this worth the trouble of setting up this arrangement with a camera like this? So when this is in place, that all sits on here, and this micro switch, the micro switch which detects the closed position, is this one, I think, and that's working. But the micro switch that detects the open position here is missing its arm. So when I select eject, it doesn't work. It gets all annoyed. So what I've got, which may or may not do this job, is a micro switch which I bought on eBay for about £3. Here. It's not exactly the right part, but it's a matter of whether it'll fit. Will this micro switch do? It's similar, isn't it? There's a mounting hole difference, so I need to avoid this position here. I mustn't go over there with this micro switch. This is a changeover, and this is a normally open micro switch, so I need to get the pin out correct. And of course the exact angles are a bit of an unknown, but it looks like it will fit, and it's not too thick. In fact, it's even thinner than the original, which is, most micro switches are about 5 or 6 millimeters wide, and this is only about 3, and I've just dropped my new one down there. So I'll fish that out, take this off, work out the pin out, and see if I can fit it. Let's see how that goes. Right, let's first work out the pin out. That'll be the common, so it's a case of which contact is already made. No? Maybe that's not the common. Right. Okay. I don't know if you saw what I did there. So these first 2 points here give me the normally open operation, which I'm looking for. These two. I don't know if you can see it, even with the camera in this position. There we are. So I need to solder this micro switch in here with just these 2 pins connected up. So this micro switch is not actually defective, it's just that the arm is missing. And I never did find it. I hoped it might be rolling around in the bottom of the machine somewhere, but it's gone. Okay. Okay, well, that looks promising. But we don't know if the actuator, which is here, there's 2 actuators. This is the closed actuator, which is working, and this is the open actuator. Let me just get that into shot. This is the open actuator here. So that needs to touch this in just the right way to close it without causing any problems, without knocking off its perch. So it's a little bit of an experimentation here to see if that will work. Let's first just confirm that when that switch is operated, that these contacts are made. good. Let's see if I can refit this. So it's going to be a little tricky to install, but let's see if it works. Okay, so what I've done, I've fitted the screw in there, but I've also put a little bit of plastic packing in to try to kind of hold the microswitch in its proper position. That looks really good. So what we don't know is whether this actuator is going to operate this properly, and that's our unknown. We'll just have to try it, and if not, have to experiment a little bit. So I've got to refit the screws on this bracket. Okay, that's in place. Let's just confirm that the microswitch for the closed position is still made. Which is this microswitch. I was in the wrong place. Right, so what I'm going to do is power it up, press eject, and then before it gets a chance to have any whinges, I'm going to check this open microswitch position and confirm that that's made before it starts bleeping about error messages that it hasn't been able to open properly. We'll check it first. So I'll power it down as soon as I've done the eject. Right, power up. It's powered up. Eject. Unlaces. Right, I'll power it down from there. Let's see if we've made this microswitch position. And if not, I'll have to tweak things until it is made. No, it's not made. That's a shame. So my little experiment hasn't quite worked. I'm going to have to adjust the position of that micro switch until I get it to make on that arm, that actuator arm. Of course, my problem is I just can't see what I'm doing down there because this actuator is just nowhere near what I can see. It might be that we're very close. I can just about see the microswitch arm. Yes, I can see it. What's the problem? Either it's not going far enough and hitting the arm, or it's colliding with the body of the switch, and so it can't go any further. It might be colliding with the body of the switch. Right, the microswitch is a little bit proud of where it needs to be, and so what you can't really see, what I can barely see, is that this actuator here is striking the arm too hard. So I need to move the whole microswitch further towards you by a few millimeters. The only question is whether that's having to go a little bit further than it should. So we'll test the machine, see what it does. So I'm going to power it up. Oh, it's not happy. Sounds like it didn't go in. Didn't operate this switch. Let's test that. No, that switch isn't made. Why not? I think what's happened is, because I removed my bit of plastic packing, this board is now sticking out too far and colliding with this. So it turned out my plastic insert was more important than I thought. Okay, so let's see that the out position certainly sounds like it's working, and the in position. Right, before I finally put all the cabinet work on, I'm just going to apply a little bit of hot melt glue on that plastic packing I have there, just to make sure it doesn't slide out. Okay, problem sorted. I had a bit of difficulty with the switch there, and it's because, well, the lever actually on the second micro switch is breaking up as well. So I'll order another micro switch for that. Then I had another problem that when the cassette was going in, it wasn't being lowered, and that's simply because a drive belt from this motor here needs replacing, and I've just reconditioned that belt well enough for now just by sticking it through boiling water for several minutes. It's a good bodge just to get it working. So now I've got the machine, it appears to be in perfect working order, but I need to order those 2 spare parts. So I'll demonstrate it. It's in play, and we'll just check the errors again. So on head A, errors are at or about 0, and head B, errors are at or about 0, so that's fine. So that's working beautifully. The only issue we now have is 1 or 2 of the cabinet screws are missing, so I'll have to find some from some scrap piece of equipment somewhere. And we'll just... Oh, it ignores eject on its own, this machine, because of course being professional equipment you don't want to accidentally eject. You have to be sure you want to stop and eject. Oh, and the one last thing I wanted to confirm was that I'll get that micro switch nicely fitted so that if you do push this, it closes. Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. Gorgeous, isn't it? And of course the thing that makes this machine special is not just that it's a DAT machine, but it's capable of recording and playing tapes using 24-bit high resolution. So that's its kind of own non-standard DAT format. And of course the reason I want this machine, the reason most people want these machines, is you finish up with tapes. This isn't one, this is a standard DAT tape. But if you have recordings which are made on one of these machines, you need one of these machines to play it back. So that's why it was important to get this model. I'll blow out some of the dust from these PCBs with my favourite air cans, and we'll now call that a fixed machine. The next thing I'd like to try is to confirm that we can actually make and play 24-bit high-resolution recordings. I know this won't be an entirely valid test because of course it'll be playing back its own recordings, but let's give it a whirl. So, let's have a look. Clock internal, I believe that'd be correct. I've got an analog input coming from this, appropriately enough, Tascam digital audio player here. That's got 1 kHz tone. So we'll be recording, we want 24-bit. I'm not sure if we can change the sample rate, but we'll set 48 kHz. Input will be unbalanced because it's just the phono connection from there. Digital input's irrelevant because we're not using a digital input. Analog input, cal or uncal? Not entirely sure what it does. I imagine uncal allows the audio record levels to work, and calibrated is fixed. Let's just confirm that. Press play on here. Put this into record mode. Tape mode, oh, start that again. Tape mode NOR probably means I've got the record switch set on this tape. So let's flick that over. Try again. Put that into record. Pause. Tape mode NOR. What does that mean? We'll have to look it up. Okay, after a bit of research, it turns out that tape mode NOR means there's already a 16-bit recording on the tape and it doesn't want to mix them. Not the most helpful message in the world. So, brand new DAT tapes are a bit hard to come by. These, it says DAT tape $9.99 reduced to $5. Super duper value for money. So I was in America many years ago, and I picked up a whole bunch of these. I think they cost me about $1 each, so that's handy. Been waiting for a reason to use it, and this is that reason. Okay, so we're ready to go. We have our audio recording there. Let's see if we can put it into record pause. Analog in, good. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Press play on this. Analog in. And it says 1 dB. So if I switch over to uncal, yes, that's it. I can alter the record levels. And in cal, it's fixed. I'm happy with that. So, let's start recording. Format, it says. I'm not sure what it's saying. Can I just start playing now? So it says 24-bit. 48 kilobits per second. Why do these seconds seem to be going fast? That's odd. I don't know what to make of that. Right, I come to the end of my 1 minute recording and it says we've been recording for 2 minutes. I'm baffled as to why we're running the seconds twice as fast as they should be. But let's stop at that point. Rewind. Has it actually recorded anything? Let's have a go and see. Yes. Let's check for errors. Take that round to the errors position. Head A is giving low error counts 2, 0, and head B 0, probably pop up to something 4, very low error counts. So that's successfully making a 24-bit recording, but the running time I don't understand. I don't know where that's coming from. Maybe I'm pressing the wrong button. Maybe I can change that. Counter mode. I don't know what that's about. But other than that, it seems to be working. Okay. What would happen if we tried to play that on a normal 16-bit DAT machine? Interested? Let's go find out. So let's try playing that tape in this quite similar Tascam DA-30 Mark II machine. Mark II is important. The Mark I was a different mechanism, I believe. Okay. So nothing. I think it's detected the correct sample rate, but other than that, it's just silent. Doesn't know what to make of it. That's no surprise, really. And here we are back again with the 45HR playing that 24-bit recording. So, okay, the DA-30 Mark II, couldn't make head nor tail of it. And it's useful to know, I think, that that's what happens if you try to play a 24-bit recording in a standard DAT player. You just get silence. So, if ever you try to play a DAT tape and it comes out silent, this is a possible reason for it. Good. That's all working perfectly. I'm happy. Well, that's all come out very well in the end. So the Tascam machine records and plays 16 and 24-bit recordings. It's 100% reliable, but I've also ordered a replacement micro switch for the out switch position detector because the arm is starting to come loose on the original micro switch, and I've ordered a new drive belt for that part of the mechanism that lowers a cassette down, since the one that's in there is very slightly stretched. So those parts are on order, and when they're installed, the machine will be ready to go permanently installed into my studio. So I hope you've enjoyed and learned something from this experience with a 24-bit Tascam DAT recorder. Do please remember to like, share and especially subscribe, and I'll do more content on audio and video technology in the near future. Bye for now.